Well, city leaders are working to address the safety concerns after an officer-involved shooting at the Fraser Homes apartment complex on Saturday. Officials say it started as a domestic dispute involving a child who was allegedly thrown in a dumpster. WSV's Jillian Coles joins us now with what city leaders say they're planning.
Mayor Van Johnson and Alderman Dietrich Leggett rushed to the 600th block of Alderman Drive on Saturday after they heard reports of heavy police presence. It turned out to be an officer-involved shooting that investigators say happened after SPD officers answered a 911 call, which turned out to be a domestic dispute. Leggett says when they arrived, residents told them they're frustrated and tired of the crime in their community. Involved, Malik Hendricks refused to show his hands and abruptly removed an object, which police later learned was a phone. Leggett says he plans to view the police body camera footage to make sure officers followed the correct protocol. He says the city is also checking in with the Housing Authority of Savannah to put increased security measures in place at apartment complexes, like additional surveillance cameras.
That is private. They should have private security. If not, they should have a memorandum of understanding from the city that states that we are allowed to come on their property.
To invest successful advice to residents. If you see something, say something. Jillian Coles, WSAV News 3, on your side.
Jillian, thanks so much. We're now getting a good look at that large grass fire at Hilton Head International Airport last night. It happened after a Delta plane was forced to return shortly after takeoff due to a mechanical issue. A Delta spokesperson says Flight 1067 from Savannah to Atlanta had a problem with its left engine. Now, that aircraft did land safely back at the airport and was met by fire trucks. The Savannah Fire Department and the National Guard helped put out that fire. Now, according to airport authorities, some incoming flights were delayed while emergency crews cleared the area. The Boeing 737 had 179 passengers, 2 flight attendants, and 2 pilots on board.
Felt like within a couple seconds of when the wheels left the runway that we heard this loud boom and we saw sparks flying, and it was almost like the sound of a car engine that backfired but 10 times as loud.
The airfield reopened just after 8:30 last night. We're told there are no more flight delays due to that fire. Now, if you still want to check with your carrier, though, before heading to the airport, if you were planning to catch a flight, it's a bomb cyclone, what they're calling it, has slammed the northeast, with some areas seeing more than a foot of snow. You can see in these images the severe weather has brought travel to a standstill in many spots there. Well, now, even though there's no snow right in our area, many airlines are having to cancel and delay flights out of our airport. We did check and more than 10 flights were canceled this afternoon, so always check with your carrier before you head that way. Now, the Savannah Police Department also looking for a suspect in a domestic violence case. 30-year-old Abu Moultrie is wanted in connection to an incident that happened last Thursday on Duren Avenue. They say if you see him, do not approach him. Anyone with information asked to call SPD or Crime Stoppers at 912-234-2020. One man is dead, another in custody after a shooting in the Low Country. The Hampton County Sheriff's Office responded to reports of a shooting at Grant Hill Road in the Scotia area on Saturday. When deputies got there, they found 31-year-old Jordy Pringle from Hardyville suffering from an apparent gunshot wound. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Authorities have not yet identified the person who was taken into custody. We will update you on air and online as soon as we learn more. Well, it passed a committee in one sitting. Now, Beaver County Council will begin their review on a proposed ordinance that could affect people's ability to discharge firearms in the county. The drafted ordinance would make it illegal to fire a gun within 500 feet of a home or building in the unincorporated areas of the county. Now, that ordinance came after several residents in the Lakes at New Riverside neighborhood in Bluffton talked to WSAV about their concerns over gunfire and alleged property damage. County officials later learned other nearby communities face similar issues, including Shadow Moss and Port Royal, where neighbors have presented evidence and support from local authorities. Council will begin reviewing the ordinance this evening. WSAV's Danielle Cobb will be in attendance. She'll have the newest details tonight at 10 and 11. The Georgia Department of Public Health says there's a confirmed case of measles in Bryant County. Now, health officials say the person who got sick was not vaccinated, recently traveled out of state. The health department now warning people who may have been exposed. Doctors say measles spreads very easily through the air when someone coughs or sneezes. State health leaders say this is actually the second measles case in Georgia this year. Last year, there were 10 cases statewide. Well, Bullock County moving forward with plans for a new high school in the coming years. WSTV's Evan Smoke has more on why it's needed and why officials say it's just the beginning.
A new high school will be on its way to Brooklet soon, which will cause a trickle-down effect for all middle and elementary schools that feed into Southeast Bullock High School. Recently, the Bullock County Board of Education approved money to begin construction of the new school later this year. Superintendent Charles Wilson tells WSAV that the school system has sold approximately $50 million in bonds to help fund the project. Revenue sources include East Block 5 and recently approved East Block 6. Wilson explains why both revenue sources were needed.
The answer to that is because of the total cost of building that new school, the revenue source from East Block 5, which is the one we're in now, both the collections and the debt being issued against it, was not enough to complete that project. So you don't want to start, this would be like starting building a home and not knowing whether you have the remaining funds to complete it.
Wilson says construction is slated to begin this summer. Reporting in Brooklet, Evan Smoke, WSAV News 3, on your side.
A group working to give families a chance at a better life and a better place to live says their number of people needing help continues to rise. Family Promise of the Lowcountry says they've seen a more than 30% increase in the number of people they're helping from 2024 to 2025. That number expected to rise by 30% again this year. They work with families who are working but don't make enough to pay rent and end up living in their cars or homes instead. And that can affect not just the parents, but the future of their children as well.
If you're living out of a vehicle and you're moving around all the time, you might be moving schools all the time. If you're going to school, you might be more concerned about what you're going to eat that day rather than, a math test. And so you're going to have poor test scores. You're going to have low graduation rates. You're going to have people that are going to be working in dead-end jobs in their 50s and 60s and
Right now, because of the changes in the federal government, they're receiving no funding from Washington and only limited help from the county. Now they're holding a 50-50 raffle this week to try to help out. Tickets are just $100 and you can win up to $10,000. We've got all the details on our website, wsav.com/familypromise.